A city more than 1,000 years old. A place where the Mahanadi River divides the land like two veins of history, one ancient, one modern, both carrying the lifeblood of Odisha's culture. But this weekend, the city that once symbolized unity and brotherhood was engulfed by a wave of fear, chaos, and violence. It began quietly, as most tragedies do, during what was supposed to be a moment of celebration. The annual immersion of Durga idols, an event that brings together thousands of devotees, turned into a battleground. Stones flew through the air, vehicles were set ablaze, and the sound of chants was drowned by the echoes of sirens and screams. By the next morning, black smoke curled into the Cuttack sky, and the government was forced to act. A 24-hour social media ban, the first of its kind in the city's recent history, was imposed. The aim? To stop misinformation, to halt hate before it could spread faster than fire. But was it too late? This is the story of how a festive night turned into one of the darkest weekends Cuttack has seen in years. A story of fear, politics, and the fragile threads that hold a diverse city together.
It was late Saturday night in Cuttack, around 1:30 a.m. The city was still alive with the rhythm of drums, the shimmer of lights, and the spirit of devotion. The Durga idol immersion processions were winding their way through narrow streets, a tradition older than memory itself. But somewhere, near Hati Pokeri, close to Durga Bazaar, the celebration took a sudden, violent turn. According to police reports, locals in the area objected to certain songs being played during the immersion procession. What began as words exchanged between groups quickly turned into something much darker. Stones were hurled, panic spread, and within minutes, the atmosphere of devotion transformed into one of chaos. Shops shuttered, vehicles overturned, flames licked the night sky. By dawn, the police confirmed several injuries, including that of Cuttack's Deputy Police Commissioner, Rishikesh Khilari. Even security personnel, caught in the crossfire, suffered wounds. The violence wasn't isolated. It rippled through the heart of the city, shaking its fragile peace. As news of the clash spread, anger simmered. On Sunday morning, groups of men took to the streets again, this time in a motorcycle rally, in support of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad's call for a 12-hour bund. The bund was meant as a protest against Saturday's violence, but it would soon ignite something even more uncontrollable. When police tried to stop the bikers from passing through sensitive areas, confrontation erupted once again. Stones rained down on the police, batons were drawn, tear gas filled the air. The crowd scattered, but the damage was already done. Several police officers were injured, dozens of shops were vandalized, vehicles burned in the streets. Cuttack, a city known for its intricate silver filigree work and its centuries-old peace, was now making national headlines for all the wrong reasons. By the afternoon, authorities had no choice but to act. Prohibitory orders were extended, reinforcements were called in, and Cuttack Collector Dattatreya Bhausaheb Shinde issued a calm but urgent message to the public. The mob has been dispersed. We are in touch with the leaders of various communities. The situation is under control now, and we are closely monitoring it. But beneath those words, tension still hung in the air. Social media buzzed with half-truths, rumors, and emotional reactions. Each post, each forwarded message risked pushing the city closer to the edge. By evening, the government realized the battle was no longer just on the streets. It was now online, and the response would be unprecedented.
By Sunday evening, the violence had begun to subside, but the tension had not. The streets were still smoldering. The wounds, both physical and emotional, were fresh. As dusk fell, Cuttack's residents looked to their phones, searching for answers, comfort, and clarity. But what they found instead was confusion, a flood of unverified videos, inflammatory captions, and messages calling for retaliation. In minutes, digital sparks began to jump from one phone to another, faster than police vehicles could move across the city. That's when the Odisha government made its move. At exactly 7 p.m. on Sunday, a sweeping order came into effect, a 24-hour suspension of all social media and internet services across major parts of Cuttack. It wasn't just WhatsApp or Facebook. The ban included X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and even broadband and data connections. Nothing would get through. The government cited Section 5.2 of the Indian Telegraph Act of 1885, a law rarely invoked except in times of serious public disorder. The official notice was clear. This decision has been taken to ensure that the Internet is not misused to circulate false, provocative, and inflammatory messages, and to prevent the escalation of communal tension. The people of Cuttack suddenly found themselves in digital silence. No status updates, no messages, no live videos. In an age when information flows like oxygen, Cuttack was for the first time forced to hold its breath. Police checkpoints were tightened. Flag marches began across sensitive areas, a show of strength to restore confidence among residents. By midnight, more than 60 platoons of police, including units from the Central Armed Police Force, were deployed throughout the city. Streets that had been filled with chaos hours before were now eerily quiet, lit only by the blue and red flashes of police vehicles. Even as the social media blackout took effect, confusion remained. Rumors already circulating offline continued to feed suspicion. Many residents said they had never seen such a drastic step taken in the city's long history. For some, the ban was a relief, a firewall against the flames of hate. For others, it was a reminder of how quickly modern freedoms could vanish in times of unrest. Meanwhile, government officials worked through the night. Chief Minister Mohan Charan Majhi made a public appeal for calm, his words echoing through television broadcasts and radio updates. Cuttack is a 1,000-year-old city that has set a unique example of brotherhood. Peace has been disrupted by some miscreants. The administration is keeping a close watch. Strict action will be taken against them. Behind the scenes, Odisha's Director General of Police, Yogesh Bahadur Khurania, and other senior officers camped in Cuttack, personally overseeing the situation. Every police station was put on high alert. Every officer knew the message: peace must be restored at all costs. By midnight, the streets were under control, but the city's digital heart remained still. It was a strange calm, a forced quietness, as Cuttack, a bustling city of nearly 700,000 people, stood still under both curfew and digital silence. And while the government's move was applauded as a necessary step to prevent further bloodshed, others wondered, what happens when information, even true information, can't flow? Was the ban a shield against misinformation, or a silence imposed on an entire city? As dawn approached on Monday, another question loomed over the city. What would the day bring? Would the peace hold? Or was this calm merely the eye of the storm?
By dawn on Monday, the first rays of sunlight revealed a city transformed. The streets of Cuttack, once filled with the hum of rickshaws and street vendors, now stood empty. Metal shutters were pulled down tight, the smell of smoke and burnt rubber lingered in the air. A 36-hour curfew had been declared. No one was allowed to step outside without permission. Schools and offices remained closed. Even the ancient lanes of Durga Bazaar, usually bursting with morning markets, lay deserted. The silence was heavy, broken only by the occasional sound of boots and police whistles. The Cuttack police had moved quickly. By Monday morning, 8 people were arrested for their alleged involvement in Sunday's violence and arson. 6 others had already been arrested for Saturday's incident, bringing the total to 14. Bhubaneswar Cuttack Police Commissioner S. Dev Datta Singh addressed reporters outside the control room. The situation is under control now. There are no reports of fresh violence. If anybody tries to create disturbances, strict action will be taken. We've identified 8 persons linked to Sunday's violence and more arrests are likely. Behind the calm tone of the commissioner's words, the numbers told their own story. Over a dozen police personnel injured, multiple shops vandalized and vehicles torched. The violence had been sudden, but its impact would last for weeks. 3 first information reports, FIRs, were filed in connection with Sunday's clashes, and the police opened helplines for citizens to share any video or evidence that could identify the culprits. The curfew covered 13 police limits within the city, a wide cordon that cut through both residential and commercial areas. Emergency services such as ambulances and medical staff were exempted, but even they struggled. Patients traveling to SCB Medical College and Hospital, one of Odisha's largest, faced immense challenges. Many came from rural areas, unaware of the restrictions, only to be stopped by police checkpoints at the city's entry points. In some corners of the city, residents peeked through half-open windows, watching the police patrols. Others gathered quietly inside homes, sharing whispers and worries by candlelight. Cuttack, the silver city of Odisha, now resembled a fortress under lockdown. Authorities assured citizens that the curfew was not meant as punishment, but as protection, a cooling period, to let tempers settle and investigations proceed. Meanwhile, the Odisha Police's social media division, though muted under the local internet ban, issued advisories through other channels. On television and radio, a simple message repeated: do not spread rumors, do not believe in unverified information. The police are monitoring and will take strict action against those circulating false posts. The advisory wasn't just for Cuttack. Other districts of Odisha were warned too. The state wanted no repetition of what had happened here. For residents, the most haunting image of the weekend wasn't the burning vehicles or the sound of sirens. It was the emptiness. The sight of Cuttack's iconic Chandi Mandir Road and Buxi Bazaar, eerily quiet. Shops that had once served sweets, idols, and festival decorations now stood in ruins. Charred, walls blackened, metal twisted by fire. And yet, even amid destruction, small acts of solidarity began to appear. A group of young volunteers distributed food packets to stranded travelers. Local religious leaders from both the communities issued joint appeals for peace, urging people to stay calm and reject rumors. In a statement that aired across Odia news channels, Congress MLA Sophia Firdaus called for unity. Cuttack's strength has always been its people, Hindus, Muslims, everyone, living together in harmony. We must not let the actions of a few divide us. Strict action should be taken against those trying to spread unrest. But the emotional toll was undeniable. The city's vibrant Durga Puja celebrations, a source of pride and identity, had ended in tragedy. The government had promised accountability, but for many shopkeepers and families, what they wanted most was something simpler: safety and the chance to live another day without fear. By Monday evening, as the 24-hour social media ban neared its end, the city began to breathe again. Internet services flickered back to life, but the wounds of the weekend were still raw. Cuttack had survived the violence, but it had also learned how fragile peace could be.
As the smoke cleared and the city began to recover, another kind of battle was quietly unfolding. the battle over the narrative. For the government, restoring order was the priority. For the opposition, demanding accountability became the call. And for the citizens of Cuttack, caught between politics and panic, the question remained simple. How did it all come to this? Chief Minister Mohan Charan Majhi addressed the state late Monday evening. His tone was firm, yet conciliatory. Cuttack has always been a symbol of coexistence. We will not allow a few miscreants to tarnish that legacy. Those responsible will be identified and punished. His words were followed by visible action. Senior officers stationed permanently in Cuttack, surveillance intensified, and district-level coordination committees formed to promote dialogue between communities. At the same time, the opposition leader, Naveen Patnaik, broke his silence with a message that resonated widely. Peace cannot be restored by force alone. What Cuttack needs is understanding and trust. Every political party, every citizen must stand together to heal the wounds of division. On social media, as connectivity returned, voices of ordinary citizens poured in. Some praised the government's quick response. Others criticized the blanket internet ban, calling it an overreach that punished the innocent. A Cuttack shopkeeper who lost his business told a local TV channel, "I have nothing left. The fire took everything. I just want peace. Festivals should bring joy, not fear." In neighborhoods like Durga Bazaar, religious leaders gathered publicly, not to protest, but to pray. For many, the events of the weekend were not just about communal tension, but about how easily harmony could be shattered by rumor and reaction. Meanwhile, outside Odisha, the news spread quickly across national outlets. Analysts debated whether the 24-hour social media ban signaled a new era of digital control in India's states, or whether it was a necessary emergency tool in the face of mob-driven violence. By midweek, arrests continued. Police identified more individuals through CCTV footage and eyewitness reports. The administration's message was clear. There would be no leniency for those who had taken part in the riots, regardless of affiliation. But beyond law and order, Cuttack was struggling with something deeper: trust. The city that once prided itself on interfaith unity had seen suspicion creep into daily life. Neighbors who once celebrated festivals together now exchanged cautious glances. The task of rebuilding peace would take far longer than restoring property. And yet, amid the pain, there were glimmers of hope. Local youth organizations launched peace walks. Volunteers from both communities worked side by side to clean debris from the streets. In those quiet acts of rebuilding, Cuttack's old soul, the soul of resilience, began to show again. In times like these, the city remembers. It has seen empires rise and fall, floods wash away entire neighborhoods, and yet it has always endured. This, too, shall pass.
As night fell once again over Cuttack, the fires were out. The streets were quiet. But the questions remained, heavy, unanswered, and echoing across a city still learning to breathe again. What began as a moment of celebration, a night meant to honor the goddess Durga, had revealed something far deeper about the fragility of peace in modern India. A single spark, a song played too loudly, a word taken the wrong way, had spiraled into violence, destruction, and fear. And as quickly as the clashes erupted, the digital world amplified them, faster than facts could catch up. For the government, the 24-hour social media ban was a shield.
For the people, it was a silence. In that silence, some found safety, others felt censored. But beyond the headlines, beyond the political statements and police briefings, lies a human story, of lives disrupted, of families hiding indoors, of children waking to the smell of smoke instead of incense. Cuttack's story is not unique. Across the world, cities are learning the same painful truth, that information, in the wrong hands, can inflame more than it informs. That a festival, meant to unite, can be twisted by fear. And that in an age of instant connection, peace itself is fragile. Yet even in the ashes of unrest, Cuttack showed something remarkable: resilience. Volunteers, students, local leaders, people who refused to let hate define their home, stepped forward to rebuild trust street by street. In mosques and temples, prayers rose not for victory, but for calm. In homes still smelling of smoke, neighbors shared food, stories, and silent promises. This will not happen again. The violence may have scarred the city, but it also reminded it of something fundamental, that peace is not inherited, it is earned, every day, by every person, through restraint, empathy, and the courage to listen. As dawn breaks over the Mahanadi River, Cuttack begins anew. Shops reopen, children return to school. The hum of life slowly replaces the echo of conflict. But somewhere in that calm, the lessons remain, etched into the city's memory like soot on stone. Never take peace for granted. Never let anger speak louder than understanding. And never forget that in moments of fear, truth and patience are stronger than rumor and rage. Cuttack, the ancient city, the silver city, the wounded city, will heal. It always has. It always will. This has been Fresh Violence and Arson Rock Cuttack. Government imposes 24-hour social media ban. A story not just about violence, but about vigilance, about the fine line between freedom and responsibility in our connected world.